All right, so we were talking about segmentation, and we've segmented the market, and now we got to figure out which of those segments we're going to target. Well, let's take a step back and say, look, grocery stores. Why do we shop where we shop in terms of buying grocery stores? There certainly is a huge segment of that market that buys based on price, and there are many players there. A Walmart, a Food for Less, a Costco perhaps. All of those are designed to sell us groceries. The grocery outlet at the lowest price possible. And there are a lot of us that, kind of gravitate to that. Other people want a grocery store that's more of a full service grocery store that has a deli, um, a place for you to eat lunch, maybe even a bank that checks you out and bags your groceries for you. So we want something that offers a lot more amenities. And also there's a grocery store that's just based on convenience, which means it's open 24 hours and it's close to you. And so we have our Dairy Mart type stores. And over here in Monmouth, we have a couple of stores that are like that. They sell us milk and cereal and things that we need kind of, on the rush because we can't really afford to go downtown or shop elsewhere. We do it based on convenience. But do we want a place that kind of specializes in organic groceries or groceries that are bought locally? If we do, then of course we're probably looking at Whole Foods. Now I know Whole Foods was purchased by Amazon, and so they have a bit different a profile than they once had. But what they do is offer these unique, different types of food, and they kind of have them here under the concentrated because that's where they initially were. It was a concentrated kind of a market. All right. So they don't try to sell groceries to everybody, but they want groceries that, for those that have a particular lifestyle. There was one up in Seattle that actually had a calendared a singles day each month. So if you were single, you could go buy your groceries on a certain day and run to other people that were single. You can see that they were creating some products specifically for the Valentine's holiday when I clicked on their web page. This is a video of a Valentine's promotional from a couple of years ago. I think you'll find it entertaining at the very least. All right. I don't know if anybody's bought or sold anything on Etsy's, but Etsy allows these concentrated markets to have a little bit of a better means to distribute themselves. So if you've gone to Saturday Market, all those handmade, homemade jewelries you can find on Etsy now. This is their page here. Oh, I was hoping to come up. There we go. So those are all handmade sorts of things. We have some llamas that we want, crochet llamas. And then you can go ahead and look on it. I have a daughter-in-law that makes jewelry out of fruit, and she sells via Etsy, and this is her Facebook page as well. And it's fresh picked jewelry. It doesn't look like it's going to come up very easily, so we're not going to stick around. There we go. And so she lacquers up the jewelry, and they turn into earrings and into pendants. So these are much smaller than they look. I think that's an acorn right there. And in the acorn, she has some cute little stuff that goes into it. There's a lot of fun things that she's been able to do and set up. You can see, again, a little bit better example of the size that you're going to get with the jewelry. All right. So I'll bounce out of that before you see all of my friends on Facebook. So that's what the concentrated marketing is. We decide to hunker down on one segment of the market and create a marketing mix. For Etsy, they are the place, they are the distribution, pricing, product, how we communicate, all are designed to really impact one small segment of the market. All right, micro-marketing is this idea that because of technology and because of databases, I can tailor my offerings to a particular neighborhood or city or right to you individually. If it is a service, you can see how that would be easy to do. If it's a manufactured product, it's a little bit more difficult to do. But you'll look at Walmart. they have such a big database that they're able to tailor their offering to the neighborhood, to a particular store. So we call that micro marketing. The individual marketing, again, is also based on technology. I have a couple of things here on facial recognition software. This is kind of at a electronics trade show talking about how good it's going to be. And this is them actually implemented it in billboards that are outside train stations in London. That was in 2015. So I'm going to put in both links because it's kind of interesting. Again, this is an example of micro marketing in that I have a chip in the car here and it interacts up here with the billboard. So as I come around the corner, this billboard knows it's me and can send me a personalized message. Now, that's probably more of a sales promotion than anything. It's probably not designed to really be that effective a tool, but it's unique. It's kind of different. One thing that we sometimes talk about when we talk about individual marketing is this idea of mass customization. Now, I'm going to put a link in here to a product that claims to be mass customized. And here's another one over here. Let me just bounce on this. And the idea behind mass customization is that you can go ahead and build your own car. So this is the web page here, and you can build your own car, build a new Mini, and you can put in what you want. Start with a basic model, different colors, different interiors, different packages. That's the model of the mass customization. So what do you need? You need the internet so that you can have enough people to make it worthwhile. You need the basic product to be the same for 95% of the people that are buying the product. So it's still just a car. What you get to customize is the last 5%. So this example here is the cell phone. The cell phone's the same for everybody, or the smartphone. And all you get is a chance to customize the color, some other things like that. The same with your automobile over here. So that's how mass customization works. It has to be done online to make it work. The one that probably has the most expansive menu, so you have to force them to choose from a menu. That's also necessary. You can't be all things to all people. But Nike ID has a pretty substantial menu, and maybe some of you have done it. All you and your friends that are on your same sporting team will get together and say, "Hey, let's get shoes that fit our team logo and our team name and that kind of stuff." So you start with a basic shoe, and then you get to choose the different colors. At the tail end, they allow you to put your number or your nickname on the back here. So you could go ahead and customize your for your team right like that, put the colors that you want, and then put your name and number on the back, one on each heel as you went about doing that. So that's mass customization. All right. So which of those should I target? Well, it depends on what resources I have. If I don't have a lot of resources, then perhaps I need to go smaller with that concentrated approach. If I have plenty of resources, then a differentiated approach where I have to go after multiple segments. Depends how much product variability that there is out there and where we're at in the product life cycle. We're going to talk about the product life cycle later, so don't spend too much time on that. Depends on if consumers are different. If consumers aren't different, there really is no need to target specific segments, but most consumers are different, so that's something. And it depends on what my competitors are doing, because what I'm trying to do is create that competitor advantage. And if I have a very strong competitor in one segment, then perhaps I go after a different segment just because they've already locked down a segment. One of the things that you probably need to worry about is targeting vulnerable segments. So we have here this idea of targeting sugar cereals and sugar products to kids. It's an old Kool-Aid ad. And you guys are too young to remember, but Kool-Aid used to be targeted as a little bit of an energy drink. You're out of energy, and so Kool-Aid comes crashing through the wall and gives you some Kool-Aid to drink, and now you are sugared up and go out and win the game. Couldn't find many of those, but I did find a Kool-Aid ad of Kool-Aid crashing through the ceiling. This is an ad for Budweiser. You won't be able to hear it, so I'm going to link it so you can watch the whole thing. But it's the Budweiser frogs. this is a kind of something that is the Budweiser Lizards, but it's kind of interesting. Oh, shouldn't have bounced out like that. All right. So I'll link that for you. The question we ask ourselves is was that particular ad targeted at kids for alcohol? We know that kids are very vulnerable. They haven't made their preferences yet. And so an argument between Budweiser and Miller Lite is probably determined when you're in middle school or even at the tail end of grade school. We know we look over here in terms of sugar cereals and like I said, Kool-Aid and highly sugared drinks. There are concerned parents that say that we shouldn't be aggressively marketing to them. We have laws saying that you can't market to kids with alcohol, but kids do respond to cartoons, they respond to animatronics, they respond to humor. And so even though we say we're not targeting kids, I believe the Budweiser campaign that involved the frogs definitely targeted kids. This is a cigarette campaign called Joe Camel. Well, what we're going to click on is a page made by a company called Adbusters out of Canada, and they create a page called Joe Chemo, and they give us these statistics, which I think are phenomenal. During the first 3 years of Joe Camel advertisements, Camel's share of the under 18 cigarette market jumped from 0.5% to 33%, $470 million increase in annual sales. More than 90% of 6-year-olds matched Joe Camel with a picture of a cigarette, making him as well known as Mickey Mouse. And there's a couple more down there in terms of statistics. So the point I was making is that marketers know that cigarettes, their primary consumers are going to end up dying, so they have to get new consumers. I need to brand up your kids as young as I can. So even though legally I can't market to them directly, I do things to try to market to them. I think there's a real ethical issue. In terms of marketing products designed for kids to kids, sugar cereals, toys, action figures, that's a little bit more problematic. I think that might be a little bit of smart marketing and not necessarily just unethical. Certainly there are some ethics involved, but not 100% unethical like marketing cigarettes to kids. All right, one of the big things that I've always felt uncomfortable with is the sexualization of kids at early and early age. So this is Victoria's Secret and their Pink brand, which is designed for middle school kids. Now, of course, these models are old enough to model it, but you know, it's your 12-year-old that wants to go out in a skimpy outfit like that. This is, I think, Abercrombie. Yeah. Abercrombie pushing push-up bikinis for 7-year-old girls. So that's as young as 7-year-olds, but still it's not it's not a good look. They said push-up triangle bikini tops for girls as young as 7. Isn't this the same company that was roundly criticized in 2002 for selling a line of thongs for 7-year-olds decorated with the words eye candy and wink wink? So Abercrombie, I think there are some real issues, as a lot of marketing is about sexualizing our girls a little bit earlier than they should be. All right, that's a good place to stop. So a little bit about targeting, a little bit about, hey, be careful about who you're targeting. There are some groups that are perhaps a little bit more vulnerable, and particularly kids, and we either pass laws against that sort of thing, or you know, we let it happen, but we have to really monitor it as parents and parent groups and just consumers to make sure that companies are not marketing aggressively to our kids. All right.